To Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner on 12OZSportsRadio.com. I am your host, Glenn Kaplan. We are live in Baltimore, Maryland, which is home of the Baltimore Orioles and the Baltimore Ravens. Who's excited for today's show? And I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. We're filled with tons of sports on today's show, so buckle up, listen up, whatever else. Folks, this is the 108th show today, cruising along here. Speaking of cruising along, we're almost at the finish line for 2020. But hang in there tight. We're almost done, baby. We are almost done. All right? Use promo code 12OZSports, all cash with deposit bonus up to $1,000 from my bookie. All right. What I was supposed to be starting off with today was the game recap for New England Patriots, Kansas City Chiefs. But there had to be a little glitch. So because Cam Newton tested positive for the coronavirus, they have to push the game to tonight, 7:05 Eastern on CBS. I'll definitely be tuning in. Now, I don't think New England really has much of a chance starting Brian Hoyer instead of Jared Stidham. Yeah, don't have Cam Newton. Look, I know it's it's not good that obviously he got it, but it's going to be tough for New England to win. Patrick Mahomes are going to be. I just think it's going to be a potential blowout win for them. And the Atlanta Falcons, Green Bay Packers move from 8:15 to an 8:50 start on ESPN. Also, they had no positive test this morning, New England, Kansas City, so the game is a good go. And speaking of good news, the Tennessee Titans do not have a positive case for the first time in the last 7 days, so they are on track for Sunday's game against the Buffalo Bills. And that should be a good one. That will obviously be previewed on Thursday's show. So that's where I start off with today. All right. You know what they say? The old phrase, a broken clock is right twice a day. Well, that's what Carson Wentz was last night. He's got to be right. He's got to be right every now and then. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Folks, Carson Wentz threw a game-winning 42-yard touchdown pass to Travis Rulegum in the fourth quarter. And that was actually a good throw. Every now and then your quarterback's gotta make the good throw. The heart for your heart soul to the Philadelphia Eagles, Carson Wentz. And I know I've gotten on him. Look. Yes, I've gotten on Carson Wentz thousands of times. Ladies and gentlemen, though, I guess this is why they're in first place in the stinky NFC East. Folks, it's not good. Not good at all that the Eagles have a 1-2-1 record, are in first place in the NFC East, nor should I say the NFC least. And I remember once upon a time, I was going something through with my brother Jake during the offseason. We're like, okay, you have a division team, the NFC East, the NFC West, you have your quarterback, your running back, and so forth. Wanna know who had the worst team? The NFC least. Or should I say, the NFC East, which is a downright utter garbage. Oh, if I only had a garbage can to smack around this morning around here. The entire NFC East. New York Giants, trash. I'll get to them later. Dallas Cowboys, defense, trash. The Washington football team, trash. They're all trash. Though they're going to get their butts behind kicked in the postseason anyways. It's not good. Yeah, they beat the San Francisco 49ers, Philadelphia Eagles 25-20 on the road. And the 49ers probably wish they could play the freaking Jets and Giants every week. Sheesh. So the Niners need Jimmy Garoppolo back, obviously. I joked around with my brother Jake. He's like, Nick Mullins, he mocks me like he's mocked me with amongst other things. And this time, there was an interesting thing I saw on my Instagram this morning about a record discrepancy compared to when Garoppolo plays compared to the other Niners quarterbacks when he doesn't. And everyone's like, oh, Garoppolo, let's get... No. Jimmy Garoppolo is the man in San Francisco, and that is it. All right, let's get to the stats. Wentz, 18 of 28, 193 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 reception, rushed for 37 yards on 7 carries and a touchdown. Jalen Hurts, 3 for 18. Miles Sanders, 13 for 46 rushing, 2 for 30 receiving. Travis Rollgum, 2 for 57 and 1 touchdown. As I said, 42-yard touchdown reception. Greg Ward, 4 for 38. Alex Singleton, a 30-yard pick 6 in the fourth quarter. Hightower, 2 for 22. Ertz, 4 for 9. He's not the same like George Kittle is. Nick Mullins, 18 to 26, 201 and 2. CJ Beathard came in late, 14 to 19, 138. Remember the Eagles tried to make the game interesting, but no, it didn't happen. Jerick McKinnon, 15 of 54 and a touchdown. 7 for 43. Ayuk, 1 for 30 and a touchdown. Did you see that leap he made? Whoa-wee! Did he make that leap? Wow. George Kittle, 15, 183 and a touchdown. 1 for 8 rushing. Samuel in his first game back, 3 for 35, 1 for 10. Kendrick Bourne, 3 for 33. So that's on with that game. Next game, Baltimore, Washington. This was easy. Ravens bounce back. You know they're going to bounce back against a bad team. I know the Ravens. It's like the Ravens are easy to figure out. They'll win those games, but then they'll lose the big games because, yeah, Lamar Jackson's going to win them games in the regular season, as I've said. But in the big games and postseason is a different animal. He was okay. I wouldn't say he had a great game. Let's see. The score was 31-17. And it kind of didn't feel that close because Robert Griffin III came in late in the game. Jackson, 14 to 21. He also had 193 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. 53 yards on 7 carries and a touchdown. Gus Edwards, 38 for 9 on 9 carries. Ingram II, 34 yards rushing on 8 carries and a touchdown. 1 receiving for 3 yards. Marquise Brown, 4 for 86. Want to talk about a speed demon on the outside for the Baltimore Ravens. I would like to see them use Devin Duvernay. He's fast. You saw what happened against Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah, they lost the game, but he returned that kickoff for a touchdown. Maybe you could use him more in the backfield. Not backfield to wide receiver. Mark Andrews. See, this is why I think Andrews is one of the best tight ends in the league. 3 for 57 and 2 touchdowns. Mark Andrews is pretty good. I think he's not Kittle and he's not Kelsey. But Mark Andrews is I like the way he plays. He's just phenomenal. I know he had a bad game last week. Mark Andrews, he had to hear the tiptoesies. I get it. But Mark Andrews is one of the best tight ends in the league, and you can't deny that. Dwayne Haskins had a better game. He played better. For now, who's staying the starting quarterback for the Washington football team. 32 of 45 for 314 yards, despite not having a touchdown in the air. But he did not get picked up, which is a key thing, which I'm sure will please head coach Ron Rivera. He also rushed for 3 yards on 3 carries and a touchdown. Antonio Gibson, the rookie, he's like a Deebo Samuel clone. 46 yards rushing on 13 carries and a score. Caught 4 passes for 82 yards receiving. They're lacking offense, but they definitely play hard. And I'm telling you, they're not the worst team in that division. It's the team up I-95 up the Turnpike in New Jersey at the Meadowlands. And I'm going to get to that tartar sauce and to those nonsense later on. Terry McLaurin, 10 for 118. J.D. McKissick, 6 for 2 carries. 7 for 40. Don Trillman, 4 for 29. He's playing okay. Cam Sims, 2 for 17. Maybe he should get involved more in the offense. As I said, the Baltimore Ravens, led by Coach John Harbaugh, helped the Baltimore Ravens won this game easily over the Washington football team by a score of 31-17, though, nonetheless. All right. Indianapolis and Chicago. The Colts and the Bears, only a 3-hour drive, and I meant to look up yesterday the drive on MapQuest or Google Maps, but I forgot. Maybe I'll do it after the show sometime today. So this was a really ugly game. The Indianapolis Colts took down the Chicago Bears in this one by a final score of 19-11. Both of these defenses showed up to play in the weather looked good early on, but then it kind of looked a little sloppy later on. Phillip Rivers completed 16 of 29 passes for 190 yards and 1 touchdown. He rushed for -4 yards on 3 carries. Jonathan Taylor, the rookie running back out of Wisconsin, is actually playing. He's serviceable, but I think at some point he might pop. He rushed for 68 yards on 17 carries. Zach Pascal caught 3 passes for 58 yards receiving. T.Y. Hilton caught 3 passes for 29 yards receiving. Marcus Johnson, 1 pass for 27 yards receiving. Trey Burton, 2 for 16. Mo Alley-Cox, a 13-yard touchdown reception in the first quarter from Phillip Rivers. Mo Alley-Cox, I don't understand why he doesn't get involved in the offense more. Every now and then he'll catch a few touchdown passes on the year. I don't understand why the Colts really don't use him more often in their offense, because I think he's shown flashes here and there. And now Nick Foles gets the start and plays some Mitchell Trubisky in his first game, and Nick Foles looks... Actually, he wasn't terrible. What actually failed the Chicago Bears was actually the run game, not the passing game. Nick Foles, 26 of 42 passes for 249 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, rushed for -1 yard on 2 carries. Foles, as I mentioned, started for the first time this season, plays Mitchell Trubisky, though nonetheless. Allen Robinson caught 7 passes for 101 yards, receiving a touchdown. Want to talk about a guy that's going to be making a ton of money come the free agency market? Allen Robinson is he's one of the most, I wouldn't say a top 10 receiver in the NFL. He is one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. All he does is make plays. He can block, he can catch. He doesn't get enough credit because of, I know Chicago's a big market, but let's be real. The Bears aren't what they used to be. Even though they're in a big market of Chicago, and a team like the New York Giants could use a guy like him. And then Darnell Mooney, 5 passes for 52 yards receiving. Jimmy Graham, 4 passes for 33 yards receiving, though nonetheless. And then David Montgomery had a 2-point conversion late in the game, and they failed to recover an onside kick with less than 2 minutes remaining regulation, though nonetheless. So that's that with the Indianapolis Colts and the Chicago Bears. What's next on my NFL game recaps here? Okay. Y'all just might want to. I'm warning you. Y'all might want to get some earplugs for this segment. And don't say I didn't warn you so. Because a hashtag no filter Glenn. Get it trending, Dave Chalk on Twitter. No filter Glenn's about to strike with this New York Giants Los Angeles Rams game recap. Alright. Jason Garrett, who everyone was sold on, including me. There was a reason why, and good reason why, the Dallas Cowboys got rid of him. Jason Garrett has let Daniel Jones regressed. Jason Garrett deserves to be fired, and so does General Manager David Gettleman. Gettleman tried to build a football team around the running back Saquon Barkley. I would trade Barkley. Daniel Jones can't seem to get out of his own way. And former New York Giants players like Lawrence Tynes and Justin Tucker, like they're not getting the number 1 pick. Well, I'll tell you what. I think the New York Giants need that number 1 pick. I know the message hasn't gotten across to ownership yet. I said yet, and I know that they're calling for them to sell. And I know fans are like, John Mayer's the new Wolpon. Yeah, I understand. But if you go 0-16 or 1-15, you're not keeping Joe Judge a second year. You're not keeping Joe Judge a second year, and I don't care that we're in the coronavirus season. It's a what have you done for me lately league. And I know the Giants haven't had stability. And I'm going to tell you this. And you Giants fans don't want to agree with me on this one. The worst thing to have happened to this franchise is winning the Super Bowl in 2011. And I know what you're saying. It's a championship you keep forever. Yeah, I get it. It set this franchise back a decade, and you see it. It kept Jerry Reese for 4, 5, 6 more years than it should have been because he had no idea how to draft. It kept Tom Coughlin longer, 4, 5, 6, 7 more years because the Bears would have had to change things sooner. And y'all want to laugh at me. But the Giants would have more sustainability, more success, and more consistency had they not won it all that year. Which might have been the biggest mistake in the franchise. And am I the only one probably saying that? I don't know. But I'm telling you this. I'm telling you, it's the biggest mistake they ever did. Winning that Super Bowl. Of course I'm happy they won that Super Bowl. But now, you risk winning it all on the line, and look at where your future is. You don't have any. You don't have any. You don't have a future. You have no future right now. And I know what people are telling me, you're worse than the Jets. No. Actually, the Jets are worse than the Giants. No, it's not the case. The Giants are actually worse than the Jets, and I'll tell you why. The Jets at least won 7-9 last year. The Giants have had a worse record in the NFL, worse than the Cleveland Browns for the last few years. That's not the Jets, that's the Giants. Well, I know what the answer is for the Giants. The answer for, and I was a fan of Daniel Jones. Now I'm not so sure he's the answer. He's obviously regressed. Either it's him or it's coaching. Whatever it is, he's taken a major step back. You want to know what the answer for the New York Giants is? And I don't even feel any pain anymore losing. The answer for the Giants is to go 0-16, 1-15, get the number 1 pick, fire Dave Gettleman, fire Jason Garrett, Joe Judge, and everybody else. That's the answer for the Giants. And I know what you want to say about ownership. Yeah, it's their problem. But ownership, 0-16, don't fire everyone. You'll get the 1 pick. And here's what I would do. Daniel Jones is good enough to be a starting quarterback in the NFL for a different franchise. I would, if I was the Giants, and I was speaking to my dad about this, yeah, I know you got Eric Bieniemy, a Kansas City Chiefs offense coordinator, wants a head coaching job. Here's what I said. With the number 1 pick, I would draft Trevor Lawrence. Then I would hire Dabo Swinney. I would do whatever it takes to hire Dabo Swinney, the head coach of the University of Clemson, to become the New York Giants head coach. I would do whatever it takes to make Trevor Lawrence comfortable in the NFL from day 1. That's what I would do. If I was the new general manager, if I was hired to take over David Gettleman, I would hire Dabo Swinney as the head coach to make things easy for Trevor Lawrence. I would make Trevor Lawrence my starting quarterback. I would trade Daniel Jones to a team that needs a quarterback, to a young team that has the proper coaching and the proper support system. Maybe trade him to a team like the Denver Broncos and Pat Shurmur. who drafted him. Yeah, I know probably John Elway's relying on Drew Lock, but we'll see. And then there may be some other teams. Who knows? Maybe trade him to a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers, have him sit behind Ben Roethlisberger. Pittsburgh is a better organization than the Giants right now. Then I would call the Miami Dolphins. And I know they could potentially have 2 top 5 picks. Trevor Lawrence, Saquon Barkley is worth a first-round pick. I would call the Miami Dolphins need a running back. I would ask the Miami Dolphins for a first-rounder for Saquon. I would draft Jamar Chase from LSU for Trevor Lawrence. And I would also trade Golden Tate, Evan Ingram, find whatever picks you can get for those guys. But if I was a new general manager, with everything started over, you started 0-61 and 15, that's what I would do. Because the Gettleman can't, it's obvious Gettleman can't build a football team. I would build my team around Trevor Lawrence. I would trade Saquon Barkley, Golden Tate. Oh, and I would also trade Sterling Shepard. I would bring entirely things new. I would try to accumulate as many draft picks as possible. If I was a general manager, build your team around Trevor Lawrence. That's what I would do if I was the New York Giants. And I think the reason why the Jets wouldn't draft him, because I think Sam Darnold is better than Daniel Jones. I just think they need an Eric Bieniemy-like head coach. That's what I think the problem with Darnold is. Darnold can play. He just needs a coach. He just needs a good head coach. That's just my opinion with Darnold. So let's now get to the Giants and Rams recap. So, they could be 2-2, but Daniel Jones pulled out more worse stops than Eli Manning has. It is obvious that the scouting department is poor, and I know people want to marry the Tisch family, as I mentioned, to sell the team. And I understand it completely. So do I. But John Mara and Steve Tisch don't have plans to sell it right now, unfortunately. I just mentioned about the 2011 Super Bowl. So the Los Angeles Rams took down the New York Giants 17-9. What made matters worse is that there's history between Golden Tate and Jalen Ramsey. There was a fight at the end of the game at midfield that escalated, and that was signing. That escalated quickly, and the signing Golden Tate was trash. You should trade him. Jalen Ramsey was waiting for more beef with Golden Tate outside New York Giants locker room after the game was over, and culture changer my bleep and bleep. That's all I have to say on that. Daniel Jones completed 23 of 36 passes for 190 yards and 1 interception. He rushes for 45 yards and 6 carries. Wayne Gallman also rushed for 45 yards and 6 carries. Devontae Freeman rushed for 33 yards on 11 carries. He also caught 4 passes for 35 yards receiving. Deion Lewis also rushed for 10 yards on 1 carry. 2 receptions for 8 yards receiving. Caden Smith 1 for 10. Golden Tate 4 for 20. Damian Ratley 4 for 35. Ingram 6 for 35. Slayton 3 for 49 yards receiving. Jared Goff completed 25 of 32 passes for 200 yards and 1 touchdown. He also rushed for -3 yards and 3 carries. Tyler Higbee caught 3 passes for 21 yards receiving. Josh Reynolds caught 3 passes for 25 yards receiving. Robert Woods caught 6 passes for 35 yards receiving. 1 for 2 rushing. Cooper Kupp 5 for 69 touchdown. Huge touchdown fourth quarter. 1 for -2 yards rushing. Malcolm Brown 37 yards rushing on 9 carries. Caught 5 passes for 19 yards receiving. Gerald Everett 2-yard rushing touchdown first quarter. Also caught a pass for 10 yards receiving. Henderson 1 for 16 receiving and 22 yards on 8 carries though nonetheless. Next up. Cleveland Browns and Dallas Cowboys. This game was a shootout, and Cleveland Browns took down the Dallas Cowboys by a final score of 49-38. Cleveland is some way, somehow 3-1 on the season. Baker Mayfield completed 19 of 30 passes for 165 yards and 2 touchdowns. Excuse me. Jarvis Landry also had a 37-yard touchdown pass to Odell Beckham Jr. in the first quarter. You do realize that the Dallas Cowboys could be 0-4 right now if it wasn't for the Atlanta Falcons' botched onside kick, or if they had a clue what to do. Mayfield also rushed for 6 yards and 3 carries. Landry also caught 5 passes for 48 yards receiving. Odell Beckham Jr. caught 5 passes for 81 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. He also rushed for 73 yards and 2 carries in the score. Dearness Johnson rushed for 95 yards and 13 carries. Kareem Hunt rushed for 71 yards and 11 carries and 2 touchdowns. Nick Chubb also rushed for 43 yards on 6 carries. He left the game with a knee injury, did not return. Austin Hooper caught 5 passes for 34 yards, receiving a touchdown. So are the Cleveland Browns actually starting to come together with Kevin Stefanski as the head coach? Or are they just playing basically flat out horrendous and horrific teams? Well, they'll be battle tested next week. Huge game, which may have wildcard implications later in the season. 3-1. Both teams 3-1. So, Dak Prescott, I think he's having a very good season for the Dallas Cowboys. I think he's going to get paid. I don't know if he gets paid by Dallas. He's not the problem. Their defense is bad. Completed 41 of 58 passes for 502 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He also rushed for 12 yards on 2 carries. Ezekiel Elliott rushed for 54 yards on 12 carries. He also caught 8 passes for 71 yards receiving. Tony Pollard rushed for 16 yards on 3 carries and a score. 1 reception for 16 yards receiving. Amari Cooper caught 12 passes for 134 yards receiving and a touchdown. CeeDee Lamb caught 5 passes for 79 yards receiving, 2 touchdowns. He also rushed for 3 yards on 1 carry. Now this receiving core is pretty deep. Blake Bell, 2 for 24 receiving. Noah Brown, 4 for 43 receiving. Michael Gallup, 2 for 29. Dalton Schultz becoming a valuable tight end for Dak Prescott. 4 for 72 receiving touchdowns. Seth Wilson, 3 catches for 34 yards receiving. The Dallas Cowboys had the worst defense in the NFL under Mike McCarthy as the head coach instead of Jason Garrett, though, nonetheless. Here's the thing. Yeah. Want to know what I saw this morning. You want to know what the spread is for the Dallas Cowboys, New York Giants game next week? 9.5. That shows you how bad the New York Giants are. Cowboys are probably going to blow them off the field. Oh my gosh. Giants need football players. That's what they need. They need everything. Sad though, nonetheless. So let's see what happens to Dallas Cowboys though, nonetheless. They should smoke. They should smoke the New York Giants next week. We'll see. Staying in New York. Not the Cleveland Browns. The Denver Broncos and the New York Jets. Yes. 37-28 should be the final straw for Adam Gase, but it's not going to be. Well, Sam Darnold, the Harpy aren't sold the New York Jets. He needs a different head coach. I just mentioned that a couple of minutes ago. This organization is a cluster bleep right now. What is ownership smoking? There's so much undiscipline on this team, and they had 11 penalties for over 90 yards at least. And then, Greg Williams, the defensive coordinator, can't control his thing, and there's a reason why he got suspended for Bountygate. There's a reason why he got suspended for Bountygate when he was with the New Orleans Saints. I mean, really? I don't understand what the Jets are doing. You're 0-4. You're not going to get any better. Well, I don't think you're the worst team in the NFL. I think you got football players. I don't think the Giants really do. So, and why do you think Ryan Tannehill, listen up. Why do you think Ryan Tannehill is succeeding with offensive coordinator Arthur Smith and head coach Mike Vrabel instead of Adam Gase in Miami? Oh, because he's not being coached by Adam Gase. That's why. Because Darnold is. I just think Darnold needs an Eric Bieniemy like head coach. And after something like that, then I think they'll be okay. So let's see what the 37-28 loss against the Denver Broncos. Let's see what happened. Darnold, 23 of 42 passes for 230 yards. He also busted a 46-yard touchdown run in the first quarter. And how did it not wrap up Denver? Denver had him sacked in the backfield, but they couldn't. Frank Gore rushed for 30 yards on 13 carries. LaMichael Pirine rushed for 5 carries on 15 yards, though nonetheless. Darnold almost got hurt. on a sack in the second quarter. Joe Flacco completed 2-2 passes for 16 yards. Jamison Crowder, 7 receptions for 104 yards. Very underrated wide receiver. Jeff Smith, 7 receptions for 81 yards. Brett Ripon, undrafted player out of Boise State University. He was okay in the game, played in place of injured Drew Lock, but he was starting in place of Jeff Driscoll too. Ripon completed 19 31 passes, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. He rushed for -5 yards on 5 carries. Driscoll rushed for 9 yards on 1 carry. Melvin Gordon, the second, rushed for 107 yards on 23 carries and 2 touchdowns. He iced the game with a 43-yard touchdown run after they turned the ball over on downs. Gordon, the second, also caught 2 passes for 11 yards receiving. Tim Patrick caught 6 receptions for 113 yards receiving and a touchdown. Jerry Jeudy, 2 receptions for 61 yards receiving and a touchdown. Now, Jerry Jeudy, a very underrated wide receiver for the Denver Broncos, who's only going to get better with time. Noah Fant, a very underrated tight end who got hurt in this game, and Raheem Mostert, San Francisco 49ers running back, who was basically like, MetLife turf. 5 for 35. That was Noah Fant's stat line, and he hurt his ankle. Should be okay. One of the promising tight ends in the league. Sam Darnold should rejoin Juju Smith-Schuster in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where they were teammates at college at USC. Darnold was the 3rd overall pick in 2018. If they don't pick up the 5th-year option, despite him being 23 years old, it will not be a pretty ending. They could wind up drafting quarterback Trevor Lawrence with the number 1 overall pick out of the University of Clemson, though nonetheless. Not happening. I think he goes to the Giants. Lawrence, not Darnold. Darnold, who's only 23 years old. I mean, we're going to see how this winds up going. Tank for Trevor, baby. Tank for Trevor. Go Giants with the tank for Trevor Lawrence. New York needs a star quarterback like that. He'd be a culture changer. Buffalo Bills, Vegas Raiders. Buffalo Bills improved to 4-0. They won 30-23 on the road. Josh Allen, an MVP candidate. 24-34, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had a rushing touchdown, but he rushed for -1 yards on 3 carries. Happens to mind you that Allen is in the same category this year's Aaron Rodgers of the Green Bay Packers, Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. Lastly but not least, Russell Wilson of the Seattle Seahawks. Okay. So Devin Singletary, 55 yards rushing and touchdown, 18 carries, 5 for 21 receiving. Zay McKinsey, 11 yards rushing on 2 carries, 1 for 18. Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen is absolutely digging it, throwing it to him. 6 receptions for 115 yards. John Brown, 4 for 42. Cole Beasley, 3 for 32 and a touchdown. Gabriel Davis, 26-yard touchdown reception in the first quarter. Dawson Knox, 2 for 10. Tyler Kroft, 1 for 12. Andre Roberts, 1 for 6. Derek Carr, 32 of 44. 311 yards, 2 touchdowns. 4 rush for 20 yards. Josh Jacobs, 48 yards rushing on 15 carries. He also had 25 receiving yards on 3 carries. Theo Riddick, 2 for 13 rushing. Jalen Richard, 1 for 6 rushing, 2 for 10 receiving. Foster Moreau, 1 for 8. Alex Ingle, 1 for -1 rushing, 2 for 29 receiving. Jason Witten, 2 for 18 and a touchdown. Zay Jones, 4 for 32. Darren Waller, 9 of 88. Hunter Renfrow, 5 of 57. Nelson Aguilar, he's having a great season with the Raiders. 4 for 44 and a touchdown. Let me just say, the Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders. They're actually a decent team this year, but Derek Carr is sick and tired of losing. We'll see how that winds up going, though, nonetheless. Moving on from the NFL. On to the NBA Finals. So the Miami Heat won Game 3, 115-104 over the Los Angeles Lakers. So I happen to know, let's compare this to 2006. But before I compare it to 2006, let's get to the stat lines from the game. The Miami Heat trailed the series 2-1. Game 4 of the NBA Finals will be tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern on ABC. Jimmy Butler, 40 points, 70% shooting from the field, 11 rebounds, 13 assists, 2 blocks, and 2 steals. Tyler Herro, 17 points, 33.3% shooting from the field, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 steal. LeBron James for the Lakers, 25 points, 56.2% shooting from the field, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, and 2 blocks. I didn't like really how he walked off the court like 10 seconds ago. That was with the game over. That was kind of a bad look by leadership. Come on, LeBron. You could do better than that. Anthony Davis, 15 points, 66.7% shooting from the field, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. Well, I know why. Well, Anthony Davis was was in foul trouble yesterday. That's why he didn't play a lot in the first half. Anthony Davis, yeah, he's got to be on the court more, or he might. And I agree with a friend of mine, Justin Montalvo, a big follower of the show. He's like, the Lakers goes, AD goes, and he might be right on that. Because AD had big games 1 and 2, didn't have really much to do in game 3, and that's probably why they lost. So he might be your finals MVP right now. Remember when with the Cleveland Cavaliers, you were like, oh, Kyrie Irving should have been finals MVP? Well, LeBron was the finals MVP. So now, speaking of finals MVPs, let's compare this to 2006. In 2006, you had the Miami Heat play the Dallas Mavericks. The Miami Heat trailed 2-0 heading into game 3. Remember they were down 13 points like under 6:30 to go. Dwayne Wade puts the team on his back and they happen to win the next 4 games. He wins finals MVP. Well, you don't have Bam Adebayo or Goran Dragic. They both missed games 2 and game 3, but they definitely shot better in both of those games. So it is very likely Bam Adebayo is back for game 4 for the Miami Heat, which is very good news. And I'm probably sure going to watch that game very closely tomorrow, along with the MLB postseason, which I'm going to get to very shortly on this show. As for the Miami Heat, this is very similar. Now, as Dwayne Wade put the team on his back, Jimmy Butler put the team on his back here. Because he put the team on his back, it's like, is this going to be a Dwayne Wade situation? He appreciated what Jimmy Butler did last night. And don't you think for 1 second that Eric Spoelstra and Pat Riley and the rest of the Miami Heat crew, for 1 second that they don't want this title really badly after LeBron James left in 2014. I personally predicted that the Los Angeles Lakers will win this series in 5. I still hold true to that. But as I said in my preview, the longer this series goes, the more confidence the Miami Heat will have. If this goes to 6 or 7, and yeah, I know the superstition that the Los Angeles Lakers would have, the Mamba jersey for Game 7, all bets are off. The longer the series goes, the Miami Heat will have more confidence. The Los Angeles Lakers need to put this series away in 5. You let this go to 6, you let this go to 7, and I'm not sure if you win. There are certain cases where you need to put teams away. And if you don't put teams away, you're going to absolutely regret it. And I know LeBron James isn't taking it for granted. It's at the rest of the roster. And he's trying to tell him, calm down, calm down. And now Jimmy Butler's like, we got him right where we want him. You got to win Game 4 to put the pressure on the Los Angeles Lakers because the Miami Heat's playing with house money in the series. Los Angeles Lakers have everything to lose. You know that's absolutely 100% relatively true. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if the Los Angeles Lakers blow this series, they will never hear the end of it. And the Miami Heat will have the reign and all the glory. So you better be careful if you're the Los Angeles Lakers this morning. And if you're the Miami Heat, you're like, okay, we won the game. We got them right where we want them. We got them right where we want them. And we have a chance to take Game 4. And then it will get interesting from there. I truly believe, as I've said, on record broken, you better end this series in 5, LA, or Miami's going to smell out blood for 6 or 7. Because that is the last thing that you guys potentially want. Better win it all for Kobe Bean, Brian. I'm just telling ya. You better win it all for him. Because if you don't win it all for him, then it's gonna smell be problems. That's all I have to say. You better win it all for him this year. I'm telling you that now. Because if they don't win it for him, then it's going to be, and it'll be the LeBron James letdown. Everyone's going to be like, oh, this and that. The whole 9 yards, it's going to be a letdown for Kobe Bean and a bunch of other people. That's what it's going to be with this team. So use promo code 12OZ Sports, all caps with deposit bonus up to $1,000 for my bookie. NHL mock draft. With the NHL draft set for Tuesday and Wednesday, it is going to be interesting with trades and other picks. So Taylor Hall is on the market for the Arizona Coyotes. They're willing to trade his rights. Tristan Jarry signs a 3-year contract extension with the Pittsburgh Penguins to look at a shot Matt Murray. And we'll see how the draft goes. First round of the NHL draft is tomorrow night. 7 p.m. Eastern on NBCSN, and I'm very looking forward to it. This is the highlight of the offseason, also free agency frenzy will begin this Friday at noon. Tuesday, the 6th, and Wednesday the 7th, the draft, and Friday the 9th is the free agency. So, my mock draft, I only did the first 15 picks. Number 1 to the New York Rangers, Alexis Lafreniere, left winger Rimouski Oceanic, the QMJHL, best player on the board. The New York Rangers rebuilding. I don't know if they get to playoffs next year, but maybe the year after. Number 2 to Los Angeles Kings, Quinton Byfield, center, Sudbury Wolves from the OHL. Now, I've heard comparisons from Evgeny Malkin to Evgeny Malkin with this guy. That's some high praise. But the LA Kings, I was laughing when I heard that the Los Angeles Kings have one of the better farm systems. Like, oh, they played better towards the end of last year. Maybe this team's going to get to the playoffs sooner under Tom McClellan than we think. Number 3, the Ottawa Senators from the San Jose Sharks, Cole Perfetti, center, Saginaw Spirit, OHL. Now, this team's got 2 top 5 picks, and you could basically hit home runs. Spoke with my dad about that the other day. And then, number 4, the Detroit Red Wings, Jake Sanderson, defenseman, US NTDP, USHL. Now, look at Steve Yzerman, general manager of the Detroit Red Wings, who built that Tampa Bay Lightning hockey club. And they have been to war, won the Stanley Cup Finals, and he's going to look to build that team. And I don't know if y'all watched that Tampa Bay Lightning parade, but one of them wore the Kobe Bean jersey. That was actually funny, Brian. So, Jake Sanderson, could be like a Nicholas Lidstrom. Yzerman knows a lot about him. So they need a defenseman. Number 5, the Ottawa Senators, Tim Stutzel, left winger, Adler Mannheim, DL. So in the draft, they take care of a center and a left winger. You also have Brady Tkachuk on your team. That takes care of your potential future first line. Number 6, the Anaheim Ducks, Lucas Raymond, left winger for Landa SHL. I have a very bold pick for the New Jersey Devils at number 7. The New Jersey Devils with the 7th pick in the 2020 NHL Draft select Yaroslav Askarov, goaltender, SKA St. Petersburg KHL. Hear me out on this one. This is potentially the best goaltending prospect, potentially since Andrei Vasilevsky. You're the New Jersey Devils, and I know your defense doesn't look good, and some of you might have questions about Mackenzie Blackwood. You know what this is very similar to? Remember when the Philadelphia Flyers, I said this to a Flyers fan, you had Anthony Stolarz, and you had Alex Lyon. But they take a goalie in the second round in the 2016 NHL draft and take Carter Hart, what are you doing? What are you doing taking this goalie? Oh, but 3 years later, 4 years later, he's potentially going to be a Stanley Cup, potentially winning goaltender in the future under Alain Vigneault. So, this is where I see the Devils taking a goalie here. You got the New York Rangers and Gary Shesterkin. You have the New York Islanders having Ilya Sorokin. You have the Flyers having Carter Hart. You have the Penguins having Tristan Jarry. You have the Capitals, who I think are going to go to Ilya Samsonov. I think the Blue Jackets are set with either Elvis Merzlikins or Jonas Korpisalo. And the Carolina Hurricanes have out the Nedeljkovic. Oh, geez, that's hard to pronounce. But you don't know what to do with James Reimer. This is why the New Jersey Devils need a goalie. They need a goalie. I like Blackwood. I think he's good enough, and I think he's sustainable. But I think this guy has higher upside. Number 8, Buffalo Sabres. Jamie Drysdale, defenseman, Erie out of OHL. Not far. Buffalo to Erie, Pennsylvania. Not far. Not far drive. So I'm sure a lot of scouts. New general manager will look to build Jamie Drysdale and Rasmus Dahlin. Not bad. Minnesota Wild. Marco Rossi, center. Ottawa 67's OHL. I trust Billy Garrett. He's very good. I think the Minnesota Wild are going to be very good with Billy Garrett as a GM. Winnipeg Jets. Alex Holtz, right winger, Dugargan. SHL, a sniper. They don't know what the future with Patrick Laine holds. Keep an eye on him at the draft. Potential trades. That's this guy they might draft. Alex Holtz from right wing for Dugargan. SHL. Number 11, Nashville Predators. Anton Lundell, centerman. HIFK Finland. Nashville needs to draft offensive players. Number 12, Florida Panthers. Jack Quinn, left winger, Ottawa 67's OHL. Mike Hoffman's expected to leave in free agency. And let this guy develop for a couple of years more. Juniors, get this guy. We need culture changers. And for the Florida Panthers, Joel Quenneville. Number 13, Carolina Hurricanes from Toronto Maple Leafs. Seth Jarvis, centerman, Portland Winterhawks. Now, I like the WHL. I like the way that the team is being built in Carolina. Brendan Mars had his team to Stanley Cup playoffs the last 2 years. You have Sebastian Aho, Harvey Arnsel of the Carolina Hurricanes. You got Andrei Svechnikov. You have a lot of good players on the team. Edmonton Oilers at 14. Dawson Mercer, centerman. Chichitumi Saguines. QMJHL. And 15, Toronto Maple Leafs. From the Pittsburgh Penguins, Helge Grans, defenseman, Malmo, SHL, though nonetheless. So now the rest of the order for the upcoming NHL draft, which is set to begin tomorrow night. So, and I think this is a very interesting draft order, just because I just had time to give you who I think that's the lottery mock draft. So here we go. 16, Montreal Canadiens. Number 17, Chicago Blackhawks. Number 18, New Jersey Devils from Arizona Coyotes. Number 19, Calgary Flames. Number 20, New Jersey Devils from Tampa Bay Lightning / Vancouver Canucks. So that's one team. Today's the first round, New Jersey Devils under new general manager. Number 21, Columbus Blue Jackets. Number 22, New York Rangers from Carolina Hurricanes. Number 23, Philadelphia Flyers. Number 24, Washington Capitals. Number 25, Colorado Avalanche. Number 26, St. Louis Blues. Number 27, Anaheim Ducks from Boston Bruins. Number 28, Ottawa Senators from New York Islanders. Number 29, Vegas Golden Knights. Number 30, the Dallas Stars. And number 31, the San Jose Sharks from Tampa Bay Lightning, though nonetheless. So let's see how this all pans out. Okay, moving on. Let's get to the final 9 minutes of the show here. The MLB, ALDS, and NLDS previews. ALDS, number 5 New York Yankees versus number 1 Tampa Bay Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays took down the New York Yankees 8 out of 10 times this season. For some odd reason, Tampa Bay has New York's number. Now, my brother Jake's a Yankees fan. We were discussing, was it when the Yankees had all their injuries? But, I mean, it doesn't matter, really. The Rays have had their number for some odd reason. The Rays play old school baseball and rely on analytics a lot. Aaron Boone and Kevin Cash will each look to outduel and outchess and checkers each other. Kevin Kiermaier, one of the key players on the Tampa Bay Rays, he said, we don't like them and they don't like us, and that's how it should be, which should set a very interesting ALDS. And just like a couple years ago, the New York Yankees faced the Boston Red Sox in the ALDS and lost that series in 4 games. Now, the Tampa Bay Rays pitching staff, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, and Charlie Morton, is far superior than Garrett Cole, Masahiro Tanaka, and Jonathan Iwasiaga for the New York Yankees. Now, the Yankees got better bats than Aaron Judge, Gleyber Torres, and Carlos Stanton. Don't forget you also got Luke Voigt, Gary Sanchez, and Gio Urshela. But Tampa Bay Rays, you got Nathan Lowe and Willie Adames. And you got Joey Wendell. You got some good team. You got some. Even though the Rays don't have a true superstar, they do a lot of things very well. You also steal bases. And don't you think for 1 second that they're not going to be able to touch the Yankees' strength. Because even though Sanchez probably not catching today, Kyle Hishigagaga is going to be catching for the New York Yankees most likely because he is Garrett Cole's personal catcher. And then DJ LeMahieu is a very good player. Keep an eye on Brett Gardner and Aaron Hicks. Despite the Yankees having all that superstar power, it's a matchup and a mentality thing. The pick in this series will be the Tampa Bay Rays in 5. That's the 5-1 matchup. Number 6 seed Houston Astros versus number 2 seed Oakland Athletics. This is a matchup that will be eye-watching for a lot of people. The last time the Houston Astros missed the ALCS when in the postseason was in 2015 when the Kansas City Royals went on to win the World Series against New York Mets in 5 games. Houston doesn't have a strong rotation, neither does Oakland, but timely hitting and defense will decide this series. For some odd reason, I think this is the Oakland Athletics will potentially head to the World Series, and I could see the Houston Astros being bounced. George Springer, Carlos Correa, Alex Bregman, Jose Altuve have not been the same this season for Houston. Sean Murphy, Jake Lamb, Matt Olson, Marcus Semien will be key players for Oakland. And oh yeah, Oakland doesn't have Matt Chapman, and Houston doesn't have Justin Verlander, who had Tommy John surgery. His career might be over, who's out 12 to 14 months. The A's bullpen is also better than the Astros bullpen. That could potentially be a deciding factor. The pick, Oakland Athletics in 4 in this 6-2 matchup. NLDS, number 4, San Diego Padres versus number 1 Los Angeles Dodgers. This is going to be an electric series because Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. for the San Diego Padres against Cody Bellinger, Justin Turner, though nonetheless. Both of these starts will be electric in the pitching staff. The starting pitching and bullpen I truly believe in this series will be keys. So you got Mike Clevenger might be returning for the Padres. And then you got Chris Paddock and then Clayton Kershaw, Dustin May, Walker Buehler. The pick, the Los Angeles Dodgers, I think win this series in 5 in this 4-1 matchup. The last DS series is the number 6 seed Miami Marlins versus the number 2 seed Atlanta Braves. So the Miami Marlins have magic in them for another World Series run. So they're 7 for 7 in franchise history. Won the World Series in the 1990s and in 2003. Beat the Cleveland Indians and beat the New York Yankees. So the Miami Marlins swept the Chicago Cubs, and the Atlanta Braves swept the Cincinnati Reds. Miami is probably going to get wiped off the field against the Atlanta Braves and Elite's rivals. Atlanta is a far and superior team compared to Miami is. Freddie Freeman, the key player on the Atlanta Braves versus Miguel Rojas, the key player for the Miami Marlins. After that, Ozzie Albies, Ronald Acuna Jr., Austin Riley. I mean, I could just keep going on and on. Nick Markakis. I mean, this team is just loaded. And then Travis d'Arnaud, the catcher for the Braves. And then what else do the Miami Marlins really have in that lineup? And in the rotation for the Braves is going to feature Mike Soroka, Max Fried, and Ian Anderson. You may see Kyle Wright in this series. Not 100% sure. You got Sixto Sanchez for the Miami Marlins. Maybe the second coming of Jose Fernandez, who they got in the trade from the Phillies. Keep an eye out on that Sixto Sanchez pitcher for the Miami Marlins. Other than that, I don't think they're very deep in the rotation. Don Mattingly for the Miami Marlins and Brad Snitker for the Atlanta Braves are both very good managers, though, nonetheless. I gotta pick a sweep for the Atlanta Braves in 3. I mean, they're just far and superior. I just can't believe in this Miami Marlins hype. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of time here. Thanks for tuning in to Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. I will be back on the air at the same time as Thursday to recap New England versus Kansas City, Atlanta versus Green Bay, MLB DS recaps, NBA Finals, NHL Draft and Offseason moves, and much more. Use promo code 12OZ Sports. I'll catch with deposit bonus up to $1,000 for my bookie.